let's move on to the next part of the show. We are going to look at the traditional top 6 teams. We'll look at their next 5 games and maybe use those 5 games to gauge possibly how their season might play out. We could be right or wrong, but we'll try and look at them, through the lens of the next 5 games to see how their season may possibly shape up by match week 9 or 10. That is what 1/3 of the season played, if you like. Some people say it's 1/4 of the season, but yeah. So let's begin with Arsenal. Let's have a look at Arsenal's next 5 encounters. There you have it. They go to Everton to start off the run. The North London derby will follow. They go to Bournemouth. Then they take on Manchester City.
Early. It's very early.
They are very good friends, Manchester City. And then they take on Chelsea. So very interesting fixture run in this. They have a North London derby to play. Yep. And they take on the defending champions, Manchester City.
It's a bit of a concern if I was Arsenal, because they've got Champions League as well in the mix. So now, with the squad that they've got, are they going to rotate? Are they going to keep certain players for Champions League? And if they don't take care, by that City game, they might take a knock or 2 somewhere, and the confidence might be wobbly when they face City. And with what Pep has done over the last couple of years against Arsenal, it might not end well. And by the end, maybe even Chelsea might beat them.
I don't think so.
Even Chelsea might beat them.
But you see, somebody will say that in winning the Community Shield, Arsenal kind of laid down a marker to tell Manchester City that we are ready this time.
I don't think so. I know, because Pep had to try something different. He's lost one key player, which was Gundogan, and Mahrez, 2 key players, and he had to try something else in his setup against Arsenal. So in the Community Shield, for me, it was more of him just testing, okay, I had this in mind. Let's see if we can still get by with that strategy. It didn't work. He would probably go back to the basics, and he'd probably beat Arsenal again. So Arsenal shouldn't look at the Community Shield to think they've got one over City. It's actually the worst thing to do, to beat them in an audition like that. You want to give them as little information about your team or how you want to play in the season. And, well, they did that. They gave too much information, and I think that's what Pep will use to beat them.
I think they won on penalties, if I remember.
Yeah, they won
exactly.
on the shootout.
So it wasn't as convincing as it was.
But
at least, for a lot of the Arsenal fans, the fact that they were down, they didn't give up, they got an equalizer. It was almost like a moral victory, if you like.
If you don't win a trophy in a long while, these are the things you go for.
All right, let's move on. Let's have a look at Chelsea. Chelsea are also going through a very, very difficult time. They've spent all the money in the world. They've brought in all kinds of players, and they are hoping that they will come together. So these are their next 5 games. Bournemouth away, Villa at home, Fulham away,
Burnley away, and Arsenal at home.
they've got Arsenal.
at home.
Burnley away.
And they've got Burnley, yes, Burnley away. So
and then Arsenal.
Bournemouth, Fulham, and Burnley away. And then they host Aston Villa, who can be quite tricky, and then Arsenal at home.
You know that Chelsea fans will hate me for saying this, but most of these games are with their mates. I mean, the first 4.
With their mates.
Mid-table friends. But
It's just
then,
a temporary thing. They'll be fine.
But then I think for Chelsea, the only thing is that you don't know where Chelsea will turn up. If you look at their squad, you don't know where their goals are going to come from. I think they're performing below their expected goals. So they tend to disturb the defense. But
the performances are encouraging, you must admit, but the goals aren't there.
And you'd have thought with the way they played against Liverpool, it would have been rising, but it looks like it has gone down. Forest beat them at home. So for Chelsea, I think mainly the primary thing is that where are the goals going to come from? If Sterling is looking like the Sterling of old and he can maybe put in a bit of goals, if Jackson can find some form of confidence, you think they should, I think 5 games, 15 points, they should be able to manage at least 9, probably. But then if they don't and they come out with more losses than draws or points, it could be disturbing times at Chelsea again. And we know they don't like keeping managers for long. So
I see. All right, we'll see how it goes for Chelsea. This is still the Premier League preview show. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll look at some other teams and their next 5 games, and then we move on to other interesting topics to discuss on the show. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is the Premier League preview show on Citi TV. My name is Nathan Kwao. I have Yao Frimpong and Emmanuel Nubo as my guests. We're looking at the traditional top 6 or the top 6, and we're trying to figure out the next 5 games and what what these games could potentially mean for the future of those teams in the league. We've looked at Arsenal and Chelsea. Let's move on to Liverpool. Liverpool, they are currently in a good place on the league. They've started very, very well. And these are their next 5 games. Wolves, of course, coming up this weekend. West Ham home, Spurs away, Brighton away, and the Merseyside derby that they always win at home. So
It's not going to change, really.
yeah.
I think by the 5th game, yes, Everton is a done deal. Unless
Liverpool will beat Everton.
Yeah.
They always beat.
yeah, but then
It's a matter of how much.
the concern would be facing Spurs, facing
Spurs
West
away
Brighton
from home.
away. I think
Brighton away,
Brighton
Those seem to be the tough
West Ham.
ones.
West Ham at home. Anfield is just different,
Yeah.
but then West Ham can be stubborn, and we've seen them play some good football this season. They'll make it a bit difficult, but Liverpool have got the quality. Van Dijk will be back by
Yeah,
then,
he should be back
and
by then.
hopefully Trent will be back, so there's a bit more stability at the back. But I see this as a 12-pointer for
12 points.
yeah
12 points. So
yeah,
12 out of 15. Right?
12 out of 15.
So which one won't they win?
Brighton will be difficult.
The one at Brighton.
No,
It'll
we're not
be
losing to
Iman,
Brighton.
Emmanuel, what do you think?
I think maybe I would say for Brighton, Liverpool know how they are going to play. So I would look at
And I
Spurs.
also think Liverpool have the antidote to Brighton's football. They can
yes.
play very well on the break.
Especially. So I would think with Spurs it's different now. There's no Hurricane where you can just pick him out and say, okay, so far as we cut supplies to him, we are good. There's a bit more flexibility to them and unpredictability to them. So I would think Tottenham away might be the most difficult.
But on the flip side, there's still no hurricane, so Spurs can't really hurt Liverpool.
I think they can. I mean, there's a school of thought that they are better off without Hurricane because now everybody gets to play his part. There's more unison in the play. We don't just focus on
Trying
one
to
person
get-
or depend totally on one person, and that makes it harder to actually plan for a team like that. So I'd say Spurs for me will be the more difficult one. With Brighton, I think they fell Liverpool too much, and Liverpool will be out to get revenge. So it should be able
Alexis
to get
McAllister faces his former team. All right, let's have a look at Manchester City, defending champions. They also have some games to play. Let's see how their next 5 will look like. It's West Ham away, that starts this weekend. They've got Nottingham Forest at home. And then they've got Wolves away.
Easy.
Arsenal away, that's the game everybody wants.
That would be interesting.
And then there's Brighton at home at the Etihad.
I mean, for me, in as much as City has won all their games, they've not been particularly very impressive. You look at the Newcastle game, they won by the odd goal. They didn't really play them off the park. You look at Sheffield. If not for that, let's say last 10 minutes goal by Rodri, they draw that game. So they've not been overly convincing. And even with the West Ham game, in as much as I think they've not lost at West Ham in the last 15 games between the two of them, West Ham may have had a template to kind of know how to play against City based on how they played against Brighton and beat them. So it will be more difficult than it was last season. I think that was Haaland's first game. They set up a high line. They made it very easy for him. I don't think that will be the case this time around. So, but outside that, I think with the rest of the fixtures, Forest, they don't travel. I think they won just 2 games away in their last 20.
They'll drink
or
a
so.
lot of goals.
Then they go
Haaland
to
may get a
Arsenal.
hat-trick against Wolves.
Then
And
they
then
go to
Arsenal.
Arsenal.
So Arsenal, even last season, I think they won 2-1. Or
3-1.
no, it was 3-1.
Yes, I remember.
They may still win. And then
I
Brighton.
don't know why you don't have faith in the
Brighton-
new Arsenal. This is the new
It's
Arsenal.
the same
Well,
Arsenal.
I think they are still yet to show us that the games they have to win, they win. them.
But they beat Man United. Well, Man United. I know
It
that.
doesn't really
But you see,
count.
this is
But even this
is
season,
what
you
I
look
think.
at the Fulham game, it was a bit,
Yes.
you don't know what to
The reason
expect.
why I talk about Arsenal, right, and I go back to the Community Shield, it may not mean much, but I look at the psychological weight lifted off Arsenal to a point, and I think that now they'll face Man City and not be worried.
Yes.
Let me just add one thing. So you look at the season before Liverpool won the league, there were these matches where they drew, I think, West Ham and those odd games. If you really want to win the league with the City in there, you don't lose those games. And they've already started by drawing with Fulham at home. So I'll need to see more of a body of work where they are beating the team they have to beat. And then when they miss the big guys too, at least you beat them.
show up.
Until then, I'll still be, okay, you just come second best.
And even for City, a key thing is the fact that they start slow. They really start slow. So you might you might not see the best of them till maybe game week 17 or 18. When Christmas comes around, then you realize that okay, they are really serious about the championship. And then from there, from January till the end of the season, you find that they're unbeatable because then they've settled.
Mad runs, 15 games.
Exactly. So we might see that they'll struggle against these 5 teams. They will struggle, but you find them scraping by 1-0. Maybe they'll draw one, but they'll scrape by, and in the end, they'll prepare themselves to still be in contention for the league by halfway through the season, and then they pick up. And with Pep back as well, it will definitely add something to their attack.
All right, we'll see how Man City will fare. Let's move on to their neighbours who are in a difficult place now, Manchester United. Let's see their next 5 games. They take on Brighton at Old Trafford. They go to Burnley away, which is not too far away. They host Crystal Palace. Then they take on Brentford. Then they go to Sheffield.
Well, the first two are difficult games for United.
Burnley?
Yes.
Oh, please.
By virtue of the, well, of course, they are rivals.
They are rivals, and we saw Company play against United, I think, last League Cup. And they were actually quite troublesome for United. And there's a team that's thin at the moment.
Well, that's a cup match.
It's quite thin at the moment. And they're going to play midweek against Bayern. So then maybe there'll be a bit of a European hangover as well, I personally think. So then when they face Burnley, they will not be at their best. Going away as well. Turf Moor
but Turf Moor is no longer Sean Dyche's.
It's not Sean Dyche, but
United
they struggle there.
United
scraped by.
Well, last season they didn't travel. But last 2 seasons, I think they were unbeaten away, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, Ole's time last season they were beaten away. But then Crystal Palace, there's something different about them. Yeah. They're playing football. They're not trying to be defensive. They're coming out to attack. Yeah, and you're seeing the best of Jordan Ayew currently as well. Eze as well, looking good. But the last 2, I don't think United will have problems.
Brentford?
I think Brentford will even be more difficult than
Brentford, with Ivan Toney gone. United.
But there's Wissa and Mbeumo.
Yeah.
You were talking about him on the podcast. I was listening and I was just laughing because United don't have too much to worry because these 2 will be running around. United just need to be just very disciplined defensively.
Disciplined defensively.
You have to track your man.
Especially with the goalkeeper they have now.
No, forget about the goalkeeper. You just have to track your man. Once you're tracking your man, you're good. And in terms of going forward, Brentford will come out to play with you, and that's where United can hurt them with their quick transition. Sheffield away, that's done.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, United didn't beat Brentford at Old Trafford last season. 1-0 was in the running. So. Okay, let's move it on. Let's have a look at Tottenham Hotspur. Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham Hotspur. They are also playing. So here in James Maddison, as you can see the image there, celebrating, showing off the awards, Manager and Player of the Month. Maddison is one of my favorite players in the league, Madders, as he's called. That's their run. Sheffield at home, Arsenal away, Liverpool home, Luton away, and Fulham at home.
I think this is where the real test for Spurs begins. They've had a pretty comfortable fixture list. Their first 3 or 4 games, I mean, outside United, the rest were pretty much winnable, in as much as they drew against Brentford. But this is where the real test begins, especially those 2 games after Sheffield, which I think they will win comfortably. You have Arsenal away and Liverpool at home. So you're going you go to the
2 teams
Emirates,
that are very intense.
And then and Liverpool haven't lost at Spurs, I think, in their last 3 or so games. So that's where I think it would really show how far they have come, even though it's a small sample size with how they are playing and how impressive they've been. But then after that, even if they do lose those 2, I think they cool it off with Luton and then Fulham.
Well, we'll see how things play out. So these are like that's how the fixture landscape looks like for the 6 teams that we've mentioned so far: Spurs, Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal. Their next 5 games, we'll see how many points they can pluck. 0 point, 1 point, 3 points, whatever. We'll see how it plays out for them in their next 5 games or so. You're still watching the Premier League preview show. Let's move on to the next part of the show. Let's get into the debate.